Now we're going to create an alarm and monitor it, and then we're going to trigger the alarm and set it off, and then disable it at the end. So we go into our hosts and clusters view. And then select the machine we want to set the alarm up for. And then we just right click on it and find alarms and new alarm definition. We just need to fill in some things in here. So I'm just going to call this lab test alarm. And then we can click next. And in here we're going to set up a trigger, and for these ones we're going to click on the plus sign. We'll leave this with the VM CPU usage, and we're going to change this right down just so that we can set it off reasonably easily. Okay, that's all we need to do for that one. And now on the actions, we need to specify an action for when our alarm gets set off. And I'm going to change this and make it suspend the VM. And change this to once, and we'll leave the rest of them blank. And then we click finish. That's all we need to do. Now that first alarm that we've just set up monitors the CPU usage being overloaded. Now we're going to set up one to monitor the event, which will be when the VM is suspended. So I'm going to go into our training area. I can manage alarm definitions, which is where I am already. So we can see our lab test alarm that we've set up in here already. I'm going to click the green plus sign from this screen. Name, and yet we want it to monitor our virtual machine, and we change this to a specific event and make sure the checkbox is enabled. Alright, so we want to set a trigger here. And find VM suspended in the drop down list. Change this to VM name and leave it as equal to, and we're going to add the value in which needs to be our exact VM name. And we're just going to leave the defaults here and click finish. well, and then we can see that both of our new alarms are in the list here. Now to check these alarms we can go into the monitor tab and issues. There's currently nothing in here. So now we're going to see if we can trigger the alarm to go off. So we're going to open the console to get into our virtual machine, which might take a minute. Now I've done a good job of this. I can't get anything to work in here, so the CPU is definitely overloaded. To do this I've just run a repeating loop script in PowerShell, which you can find on Google. I'm sure there's a few different things you can do to load the CPU like this. So now we can go back into our web client and we can see that both of these alarms have now been triggered. Our alarm and reset it to green, which will get rid of the exclamation marks on it. And we can see that the actions of suspending the virtual machine have all happened down the bottom here. And then when we go into our events here and open this up a little bit, we can see that the alarms have been changed and manually cleared. Now if we want to disable this, we can select the alarm we want to disable, and then it comes up on the right hand side of the screen here. We just click into edit and we can just untick the enable this alarm checkbox and click finish, which will clear it and get rid of it. And we can do this with both of these. So we've got our lab test alarm, which I think is the one we're actually using here. Disable that. And then our suspended lab test, we disable this one as well. And we can see that the little icon has been greyed out next to it, so it's currently not being used. And we can also see that the alarm's been reconfigured in our recent tasks down the bottom here. And that's the end of the lab.